John Travolta is a name that ignites memories, like a match struck in darkness. 2 Academy Award nominations that shimmer like distant stars. A fortune of $250 million built on dreams and sweat. 5 decades of inhabiting other lives while struggling to understand his own. Saturday Night Fever didn't merely make him famous. It crowned him the high priest of an era, the prophet of disco, the man whose hips could command a generation to move. Grease transformed him into mythology, a leather-jacketed deity frozen forever in celluloid heaven. Pulp Fiction dragged him back from the abyss and reminded the world that legends do not die, they merely hibernate. But behind that megawatt smile, behind those feet that seem to defy gravity, lies a story of anguish carved into bone, a first love who died in his arms, a son stolen in the cruelest dawn, a wife consumed by the same disease that took his first love. If John Travolta ever made your heart break, offer your tribute now to a man who learned that survival is the only miracle that matters. Born into struggle, the roots of a star, John Joseph Travolta arrived on February 18, 1954, in Inglewood, New Jersey, the youngest of 6. His father, Salvatore, had traded the glory of semi-professional football for the grime of selling tires, his hands permanently stained with the black residue of other people's journeys. His mother, Helen Cecilia Burke, carried the ghost of a performer inside her. Once a radio singer with the Sunshine Sisters, later a school teacher in the fluorescent mundanity of middle-class life. Money in the Travolta household wasn't merely scarce, it was mythic. The family's Irish-American neighborhood hummed with the music of struggle. Young John watched his father return each evening smelling of rubber and defeat, shoulders bent under invisible weight. He saw his mother grade papers under a lamp that cast shadows like prison bars. Every meal was a negotiation. Every new pair of shoes was a miracle. Poverty was relentless. But Helen possessed something more valuable than money: vision. She told John. Talent was the great equalizer, and she made him believe it. The leap into the unknown. At 16, Travolta stood at a crossroads most teenagers never face. He could continue the ordinary march toward graduation, toward safety, toward a life that felt like slow suffocation, or he could leap into the void. He dropped out of Dwight Morrow High School in his junior year. Remarkably, his parents did not stop him. They gave him their blessing like a priest offering last rites. Years later, Travolta would recall his mother's words with reverence. "If this is what you want, you must give it everything. No safety net, no backup plan." Those words became the engine of his life. Failure was not just disappointment, it was betrayal. He crossed the Hudson River into New York City with barely enough money to last a week. He slept on floors that smelled of mildew and broken promises. He auditioned for everything, swallowing rejection like bitter medicine. He landed roles in the touring production of Grease and made his Broadway debut in Over Here, a show that closed before anyone could remember it. Yet he refused to stop moving. The struggle before stardom. In those years of wandering, Travolta worked jobs that ground down his dignity. His fingers went numb, distributing flyers on winter streets where the wind felt like punishment. His knuckles split carrying equipment for theater productions that paid almost nothing. He sang for audiences that barely noticed him. He danced in commercials that vanished the moment they aired. Then 1975 arrived like a meteor. Welcome Back, Coda premiered, and John Travolta, as Vinnie Barbarino, became an overnight sensation. At 21, he was no longer invisible. Girls screamed his name with a fervor that bordered on hysteria. His face appeared on magazine covers across America. He released the single Let Her In, which climbed to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. For the first time, he could breathe without poverty crushing his lungs. But fame is a strange lover, generous and cruel in equal measure. It would soon ask for his soul. A love that shouldn't have been on the set of The Boy in the Plastic Bubble in 1976. Travolta met Diana Hyland. She was 41, elegant and worn, in the way beautiful things become when life has tested them. He was 23, a boy dressed in a man's fame. Despite the 18-year gap, they fell into love the way people fall off cliffs, sudden, complete, terrifying. "I have never been more in love with anyone in my life," Travolta confessed later. From the moment they met, they were inseparable. They escaped to Palm Springs and New York. Diana's young son from a previous marriage trailed behind them like a witness to their joy. Travolta felt he had found his other half. He chose a house. They planned to move in together after Saturday Night Fever. The future stretched before them like an open road. But Diana was dying. The tragedy that changed everything. Diana Hyland had undergone a mastectomy 2 years before they met. Cancer had metastasized through her like dark water. She didn't know she would die. Until 2 weeks before the end, during Saturday Night Fever, while he was becoming the biggest star in the world, they spoke every evening. Her voice grew fainter, his desperation louder. When death became inevitable, he abandoned the set and rushed back to Los Angeles. The day before she died, they walked together in the garden, 2 people pretending tomorrow would arrive. She touched flowers she would never see bloom. He held her hand as if holding could stop time. On March 27, 1977, Diana died in Travolta's arms. He was 23. His voice broke as he described it. "I felt the breath go out of her." He wore a white suit at her memorial, the suit they had chosen together for a trip to Rio they would never take. Success and sorrow were twins. The peak and the plunge. Saturday Night Fever detonated like a cultural bomb. The image of Travolta in a white polyester suit with his arm thrust toward heaven became the hieroglyph of an era. The soundtrack sold millions. Travolta earned his first Academy Award nomination. Grease followed, grossing nearly $400 million and cementing itself as the highest-grossing live-action musical of all time. By 1980, with Urban Cowboy, Travolta was omnipresent, but the cost was unspeakable. His body sagged under the demand for more. His mind oscillated between grief and fame. There was no time to mourn. The world demanded he dance, smile, and embody joy. He buried his anguish beneath sequins. Then the 1980s arrived, and the industry turned on him. Films like Two of a Kind and Staying Alive failed. Perfect became a punchline. He turned down roles that became cultural monuments, and by the late 1980s, he was no longer a star. He was a relic, a cautionary tale. The phone calls stopped. The scripts disappeared. The man who once shone brightest became invisible. The resurrection, Pulp Fiction. Then came 1994 and Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Travolta hesitated for 6 months. He agonized. He prayed. Finally, he said yes. The film didn't just revive his career, it rewrote the rules. His performance as Vincent Vega was a masterclass in controlled chaos. His dance with Uma Thurman reminded the world he still possessed magic. His chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson was incendiary. The film won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Travolta earned his second Academy Award nomination. Suddenly, impossibly, he was back. He went on to star in Get Shorty, Face/Off, and Primary Colors. For a decade, he commanded $20 million per movie. He had done what almost no one does, risen from the dead. But resurrection always demands payment. Love, loss, and the quiet endurance. In 1991, Travolta married actress Kelly Preston. They had 3 children, Jett, 1992, Ella Blue, 2000, and Benjamin, 2010. Jett had autism and seizures. On January 2, 2009, while vacationing in the Bahamas, 16-year-old Jett suffered a seizure and struck his head. Travolta performed CPR, but Jett was gone. The symmetry was unbearable. Diana at 41, Jett at 16, both sudden, both devastating. Kelly battled breast cancer for 2 years and died on July 12, 2020, at 57. The pattern was too cruel to be random. After Kelly's death, Travolta had a heartbreaking conversation with Benjamin, who feared he would die too. Travolta answered with brutal honesty, "Ben, I could die tomorrow. You could. Anybody can. It's part of life." Now at 70, Travolta lives in Florida with a net worth of $250 million. Yet what defines him is endurance, not wealth. Outrow, the man who danced through darkness. John Travolta's story is not one of endless fame, but of survival. From a tire shop in New Jersey to the pinnacle of global stardom, from holding a dying lover at 23 to burying a wife and son decades later, he has endured more heartbreak than most people face in a lifetime. The industry that once worshipped him now forgets him. His recent films earn little, yet his legacy remains. He supports the Jett Travolta Foundation. He raises Ella and Benjamin. He posts tributes to those he has lost. From disco king to forgotten man to legend, John Travolta teaches us that survival is the only triumph that matters. Love is worth the grief it brings. Even when the music stops, dancers keep moving. If this story touched your soul, leave your tribute. Honor a man who gave us joy, even as his heart shattered. And wherever you are tonight, may you be blessed with the courage to endure.